What does glucose level mean? Why is it crucial to maintain a stable glucose level? How does it affect our health and happiness? And what can we do in our daily lives to help with glucose stabilization? I started my glucose stabilizing journey a few months ago, and I did a lot of research on my own. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on this topic, including Glucose Goddess. Today I would like to share everything I learned so far and how I utilize those hacks specifically in my daily life. Hi friends, welcome to Sparkle Bowl. My name is Jing. On this channel, we'll be talking about wellness and self-care, food and nutrition, and life optimization. Now let's dive into it. First of all, what is glucose level? It means sugar in your bloodstream. When you eat something, your body produces a hormone called insulin. Insulin grabs these glucose and sends them into your cells to use as energy. Blood glucose level means the ones that did not get grabbed, so they're just flowing in your bloodstream. So how does high glucose level affect our body? First, we can feel it. For example, for me, I notice that I just get hungry really quickly. It really distracts me when I'm trying to do some deep focused work because all I can think about is I need to go eat something, so I need to finish this as fast as possible. Or sometimes I'm at a friend's gathering and I just feel like I'm hungry, I need to leave. During that moment, I can't think of anything else. My only thought is I need to get out of here and find something to eat. That caused a lot of inconvenience. Also, when blood glucose level crashes, that's when you experience a dip that causes mood swing. I become very easily irritable, just not a pleasant person to be around. So in a way, I feel like my life was controlled by it, and it's not a good feeling. I actually have a family history of diabetes. Both of my grandparents on my dad's side had diabetes, and my dad has been pre-diabetic for a while, but he refused to take medicine. I think in his mind, also this is a lot of Chinese people's thinking, if he starts to take the medicine, it confirms that he's sick. I was really trying to convince him that you need to take medicine when it's necessary. So in order to do that, I did a lot of research on what is extra glucose in your bloodstream doing that is so damaging to your body. Here's what I found. There's this process called glycation. Extra glucose in your bloodstream binds with the proteins in your blood vessels, in your organs, in your nerves to create another harmful product called AGE. And this AGE is an irreversible compound that just damages your tissues. Also, high glucose level causes inflammation, and inflammation is just bad for your body in all kinds of ways. Research shows that constant glucose spikes is directly related to depression, anxiety, so long-term mental health. So what can we do to stabilize our glucose? I watch a lot of Glucose Goddess videos, and here I'm going to do a summary of her hacks, and I'm going to share some tips of how I utilize them. First one is a veggie starter. Reduces glucose spikes up to 75%, so it's the big one. There's this magical thing called fiber that exists in vegetables. If you eat vegetable first before a meal, it enters your body and it has time to create sort of a barrier, a net on your upper intestines that will slow down the absorption of glucose by up to 75%. So nowadays when I eat a meal, especially when I know it's going to be a high carb meal, I would eat a vegetable first. I would sometimes eat a tomato, or it could be a cucumber or carrots. I have this perfect tomato case that I put a tomato in it when I go out to eat. And it's easy to carry around. If it's a big meal that has a lot of content, I would eat the vegetable first. For example, if you go to a restaurant and you order a main course, it comes with 2 sides. You can get one of them as steamed vegetables or steamed broccoli or salad bar, and you eat that first. But make sure when you go to the salad bar, don't get a pasta salad. I usually eat vegetable first, then I eat protein, and I eat carbs last. Second one is a savory breakfast. You're supposed to eat a meal that is built around protein. Regarding to this one, the way I changed my life is I used to eat Sparkle Bowl as breakfast. Yes, Sparkle Bowl is an actual bowl that I created. I'm going to introduce it later on my channel. It's something I'm very proud of. It is not really a smoothie, but it contains a lot of fruits. So what I did is I moved my Sparkle Bowl into an afternoon snack instead of breakfast. Now my breakfast is always some kind of egg variation and other protein along with vegetables. I always eat 2 eggs, even in this economy. Paul told me, eggs are expensive nowadays. Should you just eat 1? I'm like, no. I need my eggs. I need my protein. I always aim to get 35 grams of protein for breakfast. So 2 eggs is about 12, and I need another 20. So I sometimes eat turkey or fish or bacon or ground beef. I just sprinkle them in with peppers, spinach, kale, some kind of vegetables. I noticed that since I changed to a savory breakfast, I do feel full for much longer. Actually, next week's video is going to be about protein. If you're interested, don't forget to subscribe. Next hack is vinegar. According to Glucose Goddess, vinegar intake can reduce your glucose spike up to 30%. So she recommends that you can put 1 tablespoon of vinegar into a big glass of water and drink it. You have to dilute it, otherwise it's bad for your teeth. But the thing is, I don't always feel like drinking a big glass of vinegar water. There's another way that I do this. There's this Chinese vinegar called 镇江香醋. All the vinegars in China are pretty much from this city, and it's actually pretty close to my hometown. But this is the vinegar that we use in any situations. We dip in dumplings, we add it in noodles. When Chinese people eat dumplings, we always dip in vinegar. It's like French fries and ketchup to Americans. When I first moved to the States, I lived with a lot of Chinese students. When they sometimes make dumplings, when it's time to eat, they were like, we don't have vinegar. We can't have dumplings then. The famous dish xiaolongbao from my hometown, the default way to eat that is you bite a little bit into the soup dumpling, you put a little vinegar into the bun, and then you eat it together. When I think back on Chinese cuisines, I realize, there's a reason for that. So now I realize I don't have to rely on apple cider vinegar. I can just use my regular vinegar. All vinegars can work because all vinegars have acetic acid in it. So now when I go out to eat, especially when I know it's a heavy carb meal, I just add a little vinegar in there. After a meal, according to research, as long as you do 10 minutes of activity, it helps glucose to enter into your muscle instead of going to the bloodstream. The easy ones are house chores. I usually clean the table, I clean the kitchen, I sweep the floor. These are house chores I have to do either way. Let's be honest, you can't just go dive into deep work immediately after a meal anyways. So this is the perfect time to do that. Or sometimes after dinner, it's a beautiful sunset out there. I would then go on a bike ride. I won't do those intense cycling during that time. I would just be cruising. Or you can take a walk. If it's raining outside or it's really dark, you don't want to leave the house, I have another hack, is that I play jianzi. It is a Chinese toy sport I used to play when I was a kid. It's very similar to a hacky sack. It requires no space. You can do it anywhere, even if you live in a shoebox in New York. And one last thing, it's glucose dance. All my friends know about my glucose dance. When we go out to eat a big meal, I always just start dancing. I would do some kind of moves. I will introduce my moves later on this channel too. My moves are simple, everyone can do it, and you just shake off your stress and then you control your glucose levels. It's my best invention. Now that we covered mealtime and after meal hacks, I have some general principles. Never eat sweet things on an empty stomach. I used to have this habit when I go to Trader Joe's, I would buy a treat for myself. It's often chocolate, and I would just eat it on the way home. But now I would save it for after a meal. When a lot of sugar enter your bloodstream without any fiber, any protein, it will go into your bloodstream really quickly, and your body would release a lot of insulin to break it down. And this is also why you would have an insulin crash afterwards. So in order to smooth out those spikes, let's eat anything sweet as desserts after a meal. Learn about food's glycemic index. When you eat low glycemic index foods, it raises your glucose level gradually. Some good examples of low glycemic foods are whole grains, pretty much all the beans and lentils, and certain kinds of fruits, all the berries, grapefruit. I used to carry a grapefruit around all the time. When it comes to starchy vegetables, the most common ones are sweet potato, carrots, pumpkin, butternut squash. When it's high glycemic index foods, eat it after fiber and protein. Learning this knowledge is also very helpful when you go shop for groceries. I just remember I was swimming in all kinds of processed foods and I wanted all of them. They all look so tempting, but they most likely contain sugar and they most likely are high glycemic. Always eat enough of fiber and protein along with your carbs. Anytime you're gonna eat a lot of sugar, also blend in some fiber and protein. I never drink juice anymore because fruits are perfect on their own. They're of whole fruit. If you strip away all the fibers, what's left is just the sugar, which is the worst part of the fruit. Sugar is sugar is sugar. They are all the same on the molecule basis, like honey, molasses, syrup, fruits, it's all the same. The only exception is sometimes I would use a little bit of pomegranate juice to soak my chia seeds. Because pomegranate juice is really good for you, and sometimes they're on sale at Costco, that's when I would buy it. And chia seeds has a lot of fiber, so it's a good balance. In my last episode, I mentioned that I drink a magic matcha in the morning. Turns out it doesn't taste good without any sweetness. So I use monk fruit erythritol as my sweetener. Research showed that the better sweeteners are allulose, monk fruit, erythritol, and stevia. Those are the better sweeteners. And I still use a moderate amount in my magic matcha and in my cacao. Those are my favorite drinks. One last hack that I did is periodic fasting. There are a lot of debates around fasting. I watch a lot of Dr. Mindy Pelz's channel too, and I bought the book Fast Like a Girl. But then I also listened to Dr. Stacy Sims and Glucose Goddess. There's a debate between if women should fast. So my approach now, after listening to all of those, is that I choose a middle ground. Based on Fast Like a Girl, there are specific days in your cycle that is good for fasting. If I were to fast, I only choose those times. Those are first 10 days of the cycle and day 16 to 19. So we know the last week of your cycle is luteal phase. Those are the worst time to fast. And 3 days before that is the other window. If I were to fast, I only choose between these two periods. And also, I consider how I feel. If I'm doing long run, if I'm doing HIIT workout, if I'm really trying to focus on something, accomplish a lot of tasks, I don't fast. I only fast when I feel like it's easy. So that's my middle ground that I picked from these. And I think do it a little bit is really good training for your body to learn to switch between ketosis and glucose burning. That way, if one day you're stuck in a cave for a long time without a way to get out, you can survive. I don't know. I always consider zombie apocalypse as one of the scenarios I'm preparing for. It's good to train your body to have that metabolic flexibility. It's good to have that skill rather than not have it. So I would still do that occasionally. It also really helps me understand the hunger that I felt before was not real hunger, because I know I've done a 5-day fasting. I know my body can survive without eating anything in 5 days. So those hunger feeling that I felt 2 hours after a meal are not real. In a way, it helps me gain the perspective. Over-optimizing is not optimizing. So we don't need to carry a whole bottle of apple cider vinegar everywhere you go. I carry a tomato. That to me is reasonable. I can easily fit in my pocket. Paul said I looked ridiculous, but at the age of 85, I would be walking around still. And some people might not be around anymore. Who's ridiculous? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to boop the like button. Thank you for spending time with me today. I'll see you next time.